move! Hands up! Hands up!
There is something unsettling about being called the wrong name.
Carol Rozak. That's not who I am.
Not casually. Not by mistake at a coffee shop, but by armed federal agents.
Turn around. Turn away from the sound of my voice. You have an arrest warrant. Turn away from the sound of my voice. Yes, for you.
Imagine standing in your own driveway. Sun out. Quiet street. Normal afternoon. Then multiple vehicles turn the corner. Fast.
Please, don't move!
They don't slow down. They block your driveway. Doors swing open. Rifles come up. And the name is shouted. Carol Rozak. You don't move at first, because that name doesn't belong to you. But they shout it again. More urgency. More command. And now the rifles stay trained in your direction. Your heart starts racing. You try to speak.
Carol Rozak. That's not who I am. Penny McCarthy. Yes. Yes. But I've never been Carol Rozak. I can prove who I am.
It doesn't matter. Within 2 minutes, you're in handcuffs, placed into an unmarked van, taken away from your home. This is not a movie. Your name is Penny McCarthy, and the federal government says they made a mistake. In this episode of Bodycam Case Analysis, we are asking, when does a mistake become a constitutional violation? Before we talk about warrants and federal law, let's talk about Penny. She's in her late 60s, a grandmother, a homeowner, someone who had lived her life quietly, not in hiding, not in conflict with the law. She had routines, neighbors, family who knew her simply as mom and grandma, and in one afternoon, her identity was replaced with someone else's. Think about that for a second. Your entire life tied to your name, your documents, your memories, your history, and suddenly strangers with rifles insist you are someone else.
Do you want to confirm who I am?
Put your hands behind your back.
That psychological dislocation, that moment where reality splits, is the emotional core of this case. Because before this became a lawsuit, it was a human shock. The U.S. Marshals were looking for a woman connected to an old warrant. The name Carol Rozak, somewhere inside a database, connected that warrant to Penny's address. Agents arrive quickly. Commands are sharp. Body camera footage shows Penny visibly confused. They tell her not to look at them.
Stop moving and stop looking back. Stop looking back!
Can you prove you're the police?
Ma'am, you see that we're the police.
Pause there. You're surrounded by armed agents, and you're being told not to look at the people pointing rifles at you. She repeats that they have the wrong person, but certainty meets confusion, and certainty wins. Handcuffs click, and once handcuffs click, the system begins moving automatically. Transport, processing, detention, and here's where the legal tension begins. Because the Constitution does not outlaw mistakes, it outlaws unreasonable ones. Under the Fourth Amendment, an arrest must be supported by probable cause. In mistaken identity cases, courts allow officers to rely on valid warrants, even if the person arrested turns out to be innocent, but only if the mistake is objectively reasonable. That phrase is the battlefield. Objectively reasonable. So let's examine it calmly. Did Penny resemble the fugitive physically? Did their ages align? Were there obvious discrepancies? Was there an opportunity for further identity verification before escalation? Reasonableness isn't about hindsight. It's about what a reasonable officer would believe at the time. But reasonableness also weakens when doubt grows. According to reports, Penny repeatedly insisted that she was not the person named in the warrant.
Carol Rozak. That's not who I am.
So the question becomes, at what point does confidence in a database yield to doubt in real life? The most disturbing part of the story isn't the driveway. It's what followed. Penny was transported, processed, strip searched reportedly 3 separate times. 3 times, then placed in a holding cell overnight, more than an hour away from her home. Imagine the emotional weight of that night. You are insisting they've made a mistake. You're replaying the driveway moment in your mind, and you're sleeping in a cell under someone else's name. The next day, her public defender tells the judge she claims mistaken identity. The prosecution asks for time to confirm identity through fingerprint and DNA comparison. That detail matters because it shows identity wasn't instantly clear. Eventually, the proceedings were dismissed, but dismissal doesn't erase experience. Penny later said she fears being alone. She fears walking her dog. She sold her home, moved out of state, because when rifles are pointed at you in your own driveway, home doesn't feel the same. Trust doesn't feel the same. Even if the government admits error, even if a lawsuit is filed. The nervous system remembers, and this is where law meets humanity. Constitutional violations are often discussed in abstract language, but their impact is lived in concrete ways. Fear, disruption, displacement.
Turn around and face away from me. Stop moving and stop looking back. Stop looking back!
Penny's lawsuit invokes the Federal Tort Claims Act. Congress created it to allow people to sue the federal government when federal employees cause harm. Originally, it did not allow claims for intentional torts like false arrest, but after a series of notorious wronghouse raids in the 1970s, Congress amended the law. Mistakes made by government can have devastating consequences. Her case now tests whether this mistaken identity crosses the line into legal liability. Not every mistake creates liability, but when mistakes involve armed detention, overnight custody, and strip searches, courts take notice. Modern policing relies heavily on databases, warrants, records, digital identity systems, but databases don't feel fear. People do. When those systems fail, who bears responsibility? The officer? The agency? The system designer, perhaps? The government? Or is it simply an unfortunate but legally excusable error? That's what courts will ultimately decide. So I'll leave you with this. At what exact moment should this have paused? When she first denied the name?
That's not who I am.
Before the handcuffs? Before the overnight detention? Or was the reliance on the warrants legally reasonable from beginning to end? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you value calm, thorough breakdowns of real constitutional cases, not outrage, not noise, then consider subscribing to Bodycam Case Analysis. We post every Sunday. When power makes a mistake, careful analysis matters. See you in the next one. Bye for now.